We are here at HashiConf 2019 in beautiful Seattle, and I'm joined by Rosemary Wang. I'm Lachie Evenson, and today we're going to be talking about all things community and what the community is seeing around HashiCorp tools. So excited to be here, and it's a great atmosphere. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about what you do at HashiCorp.
Sure, so I'm a developer advocate. I focus quite a bit on Terraform, but I've used Vault, Consul, Nomad, etc. in a previous life. And what I do is I interface with the community to ensure that if they have questions, features, improvements that they want to make, that it comes back to engineering and product. If there are integrations that they'd like to see, then I'll also be able to coordinate integrations and build that out as well. So I do a little bit of everything.
Oh, fantastic. I think we're well aligned. I do a very similar thing at Microsoft. As a PM out in open source, we get to see what the community is doing, where the pain points are, and the tooling they're trying to see integrated into their platform. So with your interesting perspective on seeing this from the HashiCorp perspective, I really want to dig in to see what are customers asking you and what are the community asking you? What are the pain points you're hearing about at the moment?
Yeah. That's a great question, actually. So the most common thing that I've been hearing recently is, where should I put my remote state?
The remote state problem for Terraform.
Exactly. It's always been a chicken or egg issue where someone's like, I need to set up an S3 bucket to store my remote state, or I need to set up an Azure bucket to set my remote state somewhere. But what happens to my Terraform that set up my remote state? And so it's been a very interesting philosophical discussion, so to speak. And now there's Terraform Cloud, which in some ways makes it really easy for you to store your initial state somewhere and be able to do whatever you need to do, deploy wherever you need to deploy, and still ensure that your state is safe, it's resilient, and it's secure. Fantastic.
So I get the state management for free, right, which is a big pain point.
It is.
What else does Terraform Cloud bring to the plate? So if I want to get connected.
So what's really fun about that is the private module registry, actually.
Okay.
So if you want to deploy your Azure instances, for example, and you have this beautiful configuration that you want to share with everybody else in your team, you can do that really easily by creating a private module registry within Terraform Cloud. And all you have to do is say, oh, I declare this module in Terraform just as you would anything else, and now everybody else can use it. As you update it, you tag it, it goes in a very similar development workflow, and you still get to enjoy the benefits of using modules and making sure that your configuration is collaborative and shareable across your team.
That's fantastic. I really want to take a look. Remote state management kept me in a job for many years in early 2013, 2014, so I'm glad there is an easy solution for that, and very excited to see that collaborative module development.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So
much fun.
What else are you seeing? I know recently I've heard of a lot of announcements around Helm charts for Consul, Helm chart for Vault as well. I'm seeing a lot of integration points with HashiCorp tooling that people know and love, and porting that over and having great runtime experience on Kubernetes. So tell us what's going on there, what's driving that? Surely the community's asking you for that.
Exactly. We've had so many requests from the community asking us, hey, I know you're not necessarily happy with multi-tenancy with Vault, right? It's a security concern, but it really makes it easy for me to run Vault on Kubernetes because of orchestration, the management of it. So is there any way you can help? Is there a good reference architecture or way to approach it? And we were so like, we have this giant hive mind in the community around how we put things on Kubernetes. Why not leverage that and understand a common way to deploy it? So that's where the Helm chart for Vault on Kubernetes came in. And that's also where the Helm chart for Consul also helps a lot too, because if you were to deploy both on an on-prem Kubernetes or a Kubernetes cluster in Azure, for example, you would have to figure this out yourself.
Yeah,
and now
absolutely.
you can configure it, you know there's a good practice around it, you can bootstrap your Consul ACLs, make sure you're not using that Vault root token, and you feel like you have some confidence in when it runs on Kubernetes.
Yeah. I really love seeing, making these tools easy. I know I spent many days in my previous lives spinning up Consul clusters and making sure they're okay. So I was excited to see the announcement of an integration of the HashiCorp Consul service for Azure to kind of relieve. Give me a Consul cluster and I can have that and not worry about the operational burden. So one of the things that's interesting that you also mentioned with Vault was integration, and I know in open source, our team's been working we hear a lot of, I want to take Vault and integrate it into Kubernetes. So it's great to have a stable Vault and Consul ecosystem growing up, but one of the things we've worked on is tying in vault secrets into the Kubernetes native workflow. So we have a session tomorrow, but it's about how do I get those secrets out of Vault into Kubernetes safely and securely. So I'm excited to see around, Kubernetes environment, ecosystem embracing HashiCorp tools, and likewise it's reciprocated, so that's great. Now, one of the things I'm hearing a lot of from our customers and the community is service mesh. It's exciting, and I think things like Console Connect is taking Console to the next level and making it the center of this next wave of service mesh. So how do you feel about service mesh?
So the number of times I've heard, do I need to deploy a service mesh to do X, Y, Z, whether it be tracing, observability, network policy. It's a big question for a lot of people. And I guess the answer is, it depends if it's already really difficult for you to do in the first place. I came from a networking background, and network policy was a personal pet peeve, because if I opened a firewall rule, I had to be really vigilant that I opened it a second time, right? If I were to duplicate that infrastructure. If I was doing something within my data center and I had a VLAN, I had to ensure that routing was configured. And with layer 7 features in console, it's really easy to say, my intention is that web should connect to database, right? But it shouldn't connect to something else upstream. So there's a lot of interesting ways to approach the network policy problem. And if you find that it's really difficult to track your network policy and configure it across your entire infrastructure, it could be that not necessarily service mesh, but some of the L7 features within a service mesh might help you, right? At least in the network policy space. Or even the L3, L4 network policy stuff as well. Whether or not tracing observability, for your application is absolutely necessary, it's kind of a big question. It depends a lot on the infrastructure and the applications you have. A number of community members are like, I have a Java application, a .NET application, so many different topologies, and they're looking for one common way and an easier way to configure it. In that case, maybe a service mesh solves that problem.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think, having Console been running for so long, it's uniquely positioned in so many production environments that people, to naturally extend that into Kubernetes and other runtimes, it's very simple. So it's exciting to see, HashiCorp embracing service mesh and having Console Connect and all the layer 7 stuff there. Excited about that. Now, one final tidbit that I have to ask at the end. I always like, what are you most excited about at this conference? What are you excited to learn from the people here?
So I'm most excited about the different patterns that people are doing to approach how HashiCorp users actually use tools, right? There are so many creative things that people think about. I think a big one, for example, that I was recently talking to a contributor on this floor today, literally sitting on the floor, was about testing, right? How do you do testing around Terraform, and what are some patterns? And we were sitting there brainstorming. And I love to hear all of the different ways people are thinking about it. It's really fantastic because I don't necessarily think of everything, and to have different perspective, to hear about different tools, and to hear about different approaches, we can maybe combine all of that and figure out a good pattern to approach. So that's what I'm most excited about here at HashiConf, and just the talent and the engineering brain here is amazing. There's so many people.
Well, it's wonderful having you here. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your HashiConf.
You too.
Thank you.